Not everyone's going to make it this summer, and it's not because of genetics. Here's me currently bulked up, around 17% body fat, getting ready to cut for the summer, and I want us all to mog this summer, so I'm making this guide here on how to properly, cut without destroying yourself and losing all the gains. Because we all know that one person that you bulk up, they seem super strong and stuff, they have pretty good shape, and then they cut and they look like this fellow on the right here. You have the distinction of like a bulked up Greek god over here on the left, and then they just turn into something like shriveled up like a twig. Great for long distance running, not so much for literally anything else. So they bulk, panic, cut. What does that mean? They drop their calories entirely too low. The most important thing to try and do whenever you're cutting is to try and do something that you can do consistently. Same thing with bulking, same thing with anything in life. Stick to something that you can be consistent with. This doesn't mean the most like optimal thing sometimes. Now a lot of people can't go to the gym without a friend, all right? For them, the most optimal thing to have is a bunch of friends that go to the gym. That way at any given day you have someone to go with, because some people, unless if they have their boyfriend with them, they cannot lift alone. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're actually putting the work in. And same thing with dieting. Some people want everything right now, so they get a surge of motivation, and then they say your maintenance is like 3,000, and then they're like, oh yeah, it's time to cut, and they drop down like 2,000. All right, that is too much. 1,000 calorie deficit means that you would be losing a pound of fat every like literally 3.5 days. Every 3.5 days, you'd be losing like a full pound of like body mass, because typically it's like 3,500 calories that are made in an actual pound of fat. So most people go for like a 500 calorie deficit. But besides the point, you cannot, like, same thing with bulking, you cannot go up too fast because your metabolism is something that adapts. So stop training like a beast. They also do this. I'm dropped the calories. I can't work out hard no more. Yeah, no, that's how you lose muscle mass and you lose all of your neurological adaptations and stuff towards strength. So even if you are trying to make a transition into more aesthetics, like is what I'm gonna do after I hit my goals, which is 500-pound deadlift and then a 350 bench. Squat is plenty high, but you know, after I hit those goals, and we're gonna start transitioning into just full aesthetics for the summer, because I think it would just look cool. You're not gonna stop training like this, because then whenever you go on your next bulk, all right, it's winter, the shirt's not coming off for like 6 more months again. You might as well just go ahead and get a little bit fluffy so that you can get that little edge, because mass does move mass. You lose weight, you're gonna lift a little bit less. But whenever you're cutting, that is no excuse to not train like a beast. Okay, now does this mean max out? No, you should not max out on a cut. That is retarded. This means don't completely give up on like powerlifting movements and compound movements, because whenever you come back, you're gonna go from squatting 500 pounds to struggling with like 445 or 455. It's just gonna be an absolute crap show. All right, it's not gonna be great. So, what you typically want to do if you feel like you cannot like fully keep up with the volume that you have, you kind of want to like transition into like you taking off a few sets. Keep the intensity the same, because for most people, you guys are not training to the appropriate intensity already, so you keep the intensity the same. Now, if you're a real one and you actually know what failure is, and that means that you literally cannot move it anymore, it's not like, oh, I don't think I can move it anymore. I mean, you can't move it anymore. And if you're on a compound movement, you need a spot, which you should never do because it's not safe on a compound movement. But yeah, bodybuilding movements, always the failure. But on a cut, this is whenever you should probably start to use something like RPE or like kind of fatigue management, just to make sure that you don't end up getting injured, because the chance with like a lot less nutrients in your system is going to obviously be a lot higher. Alright, so it wouldn't let me compress my GIF, so I'm just going to put this in post, but we're going to put me on the left, and that's just what we don't want to happen, okay? Being on a cut does not mean that you need to lose all of your fullness, strength, and your momentum, alright? So keep running a program, keep going at the gym the exact same way that you do right now, and then adapt as you need. Don't just randomly, abruptly change everything. If I hit my numbers, I'm gonna finish out the powerlifting program that I'm on right now. I'm not just gonna abruptly kill it, because that's gonna ruin my momentum. Then you're gonna lose your strength. if you don't keep on doing compound movements and you just go to straight bodybuilding and stuff, then whenever you come back and you're like, oh, now I want to squat 550, well, that's not going to happen for a long time because all of your adaptations are gone. And losing fullness, you know, once you drop the carbs, you're gonna lose a little bit of definition right off the bat. But you know, if you time your carbs right, like specific, like if this is a big thing for you, then if you time most of your carbs to be like basically before you work out, then you can actually retain this fullness, and you know, the body dysmorphia won't hit as hard. So we're gonna go ahead and go with phase one. Phase one of the we're all gonna mog this summer, hopefully. You need to stabilize. If you've been bulking, or if you're not, who cares? You need to figure out what your maintenance is. We need to stabilize. We don't immediately go into like a crazy deficit. First, we need to figure out what our maintenance is and what a deficit really means. So what I want all of us to do here is to figure out the maintenance. And then, this isn't going to come until phase two. We're not going to actually start the cut yet. We're going to want to stabilize all of our strength at the maintenance level, still be doing everything the exact same. That way we don't abruptly ruin everything. And then once we've stabilized and we're no longer putting on weight and stuff, then we go to phase two, control. Now we want to controllably and reliably not add size, I'm getting this mixed up. We want to strip fat off of our body. So once we found our maintenance, obviously you want to add a little bit of a 500 calorie deficit, or if you've figured out how much you roughly need to eat to stay the same, we need to start taking away some of the meals throughout the day, or I guess a meal from out of the day. Start fasting, you know, stuff like that. Here, we still need to keep a grip on our compound movements. We need to make sure that we are not like completely crash dieting, and make sure everything that we're doing is sustainable, because at the end of the day, even if you can adhere to a 500 calorie deficit, if you're not the type of person that can do a 500 calorie deficit for like multiple months, so that way that you can like get to a like real pretty stripped lean, then you should probably do like a little bit less of a deficit, or you need to start tweaking around the types of foods that you eat. That way you can stay in this deficit for like a lot longer, because you don't want to end up getting super deep almost right, because it's a threshold, you know. There's thresholds that's like, you might be at 15% and you might look a little bit chubby. You might get down, like, let's say you diet down to like, I don't know, maybe this is all dependent on genetics, but maybe at 13% you still look chubby, but like at 12 you'll start to get like that diced up abs. Like, it's all exponential, right? So you got to be in this for the long haul, because it's going to take a while before you get to the point where you're like, oh damn, I look pretty good. And then let's go into phase three, aesthetics. So once you've actually like stripped off all of your fat, and you kind of like, you know what your muscle groups look like, because some people will genetically put a little bit more fat on to like certain places. Like for me, it's gonna be my lower back, some of my back, midsection, and I'm sure there's a few more muscles, because I've never gotten like truly peeled. Like this summer we're going from 180 to like probably 165 again. It's been a minute since I've weighed like actual 165. So once you get peeled enough, then you kind of know, like, are you a type of guy that stores a lot of fat in their biceps? Okay, cool. Now we know that the confidence we had in the biceps was, you know, fake all along, and our whole life has been a lie. That would really suck, because like I like my arms, and you know, they definitely don't feel like it. Okay, one thing I know I'm not gonna lose is the traps, bro. The traps, like, you can't see that, but it's like actual golf balls, alright? Dude, the genetics on the traps and the shoulders for me is actually ridiculous, I ain't gonna lie. But we figure out what we're lacking, where the fat was, like, you know, inflating our ego, and then we start to shape. We start to make a plan that what we're going to be working out, even on the cut, we can still continue to try and shape this stuff out, because even after you work out, there's going to be temporary inflammation in the muscle, which is going to make it look bigger, which is not completely muscle growth, but still, we want to start adapting for like our weaker muscle categories. So like, let's just say that like your delt or something, which is freaking, oh god, let's do the arm. Okay, let's go into theoretics right now. Let's say that my arm was theoretically small, right? And let's say that after I started cutting, the like, God, dude, what is the compression on my camera? You know, screw it, dude. I'm just gonna talk this part out. The demonstration's not going well, but let's say that your triceps are lacking after you get pretty deep in the cut. Then you know that there's a lot of like fat in your triceps, and now you need to start shaping them more because you know the fat was just like complete and utter cope. This is the aesthetic portion. Obviously, start increasing a little bit of volume on your bodybuilding movements because unless if you're a retard, like getting hurt on a bodybuilding movement is like honestly kind of stupid. Like if you tear your shit on a bicep curl or something like that, you're probably not doing it right. I'm not gonna lie. Like being on roids is one thing because your tendons can't like keep up with your muscle mass, but being a natural bodybuilder, if you're tearing shit, bro, you're kind of retarded. Like if something's aching that day, then we warm it up. Okay, if we warm it up and it's still aching, then we probably hit something else. All right, we're not gonna just sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick up 200-pound dumbbells and start using body like it's just stupid. All right, ego lifting on powerlifting is at least cool, but ego lifting on bodybuilding movements, no one gives a shit. All right, no one's like watching you do a lat pull down and like, oh wow, if you ego lift you get 30 more pounds. No one gives a fuck, bro. No one cares. All right, so guys, please, mind muscle connection. That's all. Mind muscle connection. Make sure that whenever you're doing a lat pull down and you're trying to grow your lats, you're feeling your lats as much as humanly possible. Because like first off, you're gonna get less systemic fatigue. If you're targeting that muscle, you're not going to be hitting 1,000 other muscles, which is going to take away from the point of the actual exercise. Okay. On top of that, number 2, it's going to be easier to go to failure if you're only hitting your lats instead of, I don't know, let's say that you're using momentum and something, shoot, let's just lie. Let's say you're using your quads, your triceps, your biceps, and, your neck, your freaking lower back, dude. Do you think it's going to be harder to go to failure now? Because now that we're feeling 6 parts of our body burning instead of 1? Yes, it is. So please, for everything that is holy, mind muscle connection, it will keep you, first off, in the right intensity for what you're trying to do so that you stop lifting like a cat, a little pussy. And number 2, you'll actually grow what you're trying to grow. And number 3, you won't feel absolutely railed over your entire body after you just try to make yourself look a little bit freaking wider. Like, you're, I don't know, I did that. Sure. Alright. God, I'm getting offended right now. I'm triggering myself. I don't know why. It's just because just for the books, guys. There's nothing wrong with ego lifting, really. Besides it being completely retarded, it's a style of training that a lot of golden age bodybuilders did, and it clearly worked. All right. So if that's what you want to do, and you want to have recovery issues, and you want to be aching, and you don't want to do anything the smart way, then it still fucking works. All right. If that's what you think is the cool shit, then you do it, bro. Because for me, I could bench more if I went even wider grip. All right. But it doesn't look cool, so I don't do it. All right. Unless if I was in a competition or something, or I was prepping for a meet, I'm probably not gonna start maxing out like that, because honestly, it hurts my wrist a little bit and it doesn't look that cool. It looks cooler if you just do it normal. But even then, my form makes it look like it takes away from it a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. But I think you just whatever gives you the most aura in your own mind, I guess. So here's a little recap of everything I want to hit in this video. Don't rush it, obviously. Keep your strength by continuing to do compounds. Don't complete, yes, compounds. And yeah, consistency better than perfection, like I touched on. Don't try and fully be optimal as hell, because the truth of it is it's better to have fun rather than have to use up all of your discipline doing one thing, because you're gonna have a lot of shit throughout your life that you don't want to do, and you don't want to have all of your discipline going into eating chicken and rice instead of I don't know, filing your taxes man, like, dude, getting IRS calling me like twice. I don't even know if that's the IRS. I don't know, but it was like, something, something, tax returns and stuff. And I was like, oh, damn, dude. That's just due on the 15th. I saw it. You know what? I need to stop recording now and go do that. Well, it might be over, chat. It might be over.